All right, what's going on, folks? There's only 4 people here hanging out with us. Today wasn't a full-on lab day, but I'm inviting you guys to come over, and you guys can always come in and hang out while we talk. I find that the class is actually more fun when I have people here to interact with. You've got something in your hair. See, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I were online, right? So anyway, can you guys hear my voice? Audio check, good? Okay.
Yeah.
I sent out an email this morning, kind of basically giving you the rundown of the class. One of the things that I found last quarter that I was having a lot of trouble with was I was really scrambling a lot. This is the first time I'm teaching this course or any course that's like this. So like what I wanted to do was make sure that I'm prepared. So over the break, what I did was I basically super prepared. I made all of your assignments till the end of the quarter, and I'm pretty much almost done with all of your assignments to the end of the whole year. So, thank you. Yeah, whoop, whoop. All right, anyway, so you can see all of your assignments. They're straight up over here. But when you folks jump into the class, you won't see like what my computer screen is showing, because what you're going to see is you're going to see only 2 weeks ahead of schedule. So I have the thing unlocking the like week 3. You're not going to be able to see week 3, although you can see it right here, and you can go back to the archive. Oh, this is what's coming up, but you won't be able to do any of the assignments until after January 11th. On January 11th at 12 a.m., that thing's going to unlock, and you'll be able to see it. You'll still be able to work ahead of time. You just won't be able to do the whole darn year ahead of time. You know what I mean? I want you to kind of stick with us, but I totally don't mind you guys going ahead. I just won't give you guys more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah, but are you gonna post the archives on the assignment?
I will post the archives.
Normally.
I will post. Well, normally what I always do is
Put it on YouTube and put it in the chat.
I put it on YouTube and then I put it up in here.
I don't know which archive it is.
Where I'm going to place it, I think what I'll do is I'll just place it right underneath the day that I do it, because in the assignments over here, I have like a slot that says, hey, remember, there's a class, a Science 7A virtual class, boom, here. And then right underneath that, I'm going to put the archive in parentheses. It says archive there.
Done.
Anyone confused about what's going on? All right. I also added a lot more assignments. Now you guys are thinking, oh, okay. They're smaller, much smaller assignments. They're not going to. What I want you to do is I kind of want you to be doing assignments every day, just a little bit every day, as opposed to making you do one big assignment that's due every week. I took basically my 30-question assignment and made it like 3 10-question assignments.
That's what I was wondering when I saw the list.
You guys got it?
Homework.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Why is
homework.
there so much dull day?
There's a lot of homework, but they're smaller. Like for example, okay, go.
Is it somewhat like the assignments you gave us last quarter? How it was like the box?
Yeah.
And you have to like match it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
In fact,
those I like.
in fact, the rest of the quarter we're going to be using that same textbook.
I actually used
It-
Quizlet.
It's basically the last half of the last month of my class last year, or in December. That's going to be that was a taste of what we're getting for quarter 3 and 4. We're basically doing that, but it's going to be harder than just matching vocab. You're going to actually have to answer some SAT style questions, some like multiple choice things. You're going to watch some videos. Now, I have you guys watching videos like over here. Look where it says a watch assignment on meiosis. And it's basically, all you got to do is watch the YouTube video that I want you to watch. And I made questions based exactly off of that thing. I got the questions after watching the video twice, and I said, this would be a good question to ask. But all the information is straight from there. So it's not necessarily a hard assignment. It just requires you to spend 20 minutes sitting down and watching the video.
Yeah.
Got it? Yes, question.
So if I don't understand the word, I just look it up on Google.
Yeah. I don't mind you guys using other resources beyond what I have posted. Your first assignment, and just to let everyone know, all you got to do is see this first file right here. You just have to download that and make sure it's somewhere on your computer that you can find. I don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of Chromebooks, but I think that you can download it and then still access the download files even if you don't have online access. And so I basically just said, I want you to download that, and that is our textbook that we have for the rest of the year. I split it up for you over here. I broke it up into smaller pieces whenever you see this. But this first assignment, or this first file right here, that's all of it. And then, over here it says, okay, this is only chapter 4, lesson 1. So I broke it up into smaller pieces so you can read those just like it's a regular, going back. But I figured the first thing I'd do is just give you the whole dang thing up front. And that is 20 points for downloading it and then clicking, yes, I did, true, done. Not every assignment is going to be like that. In fact, not any assignments besides just that one is going to be like that. Don't think I'm going to be like, oh, today click true, 20 points. The only reason why I'm doing that for this first one is so that you folks can get some, I guess, for lack of a better word, some skin in the game already. You guys can just jump right into it, and you already have 20 points under your belt, almost for free. But the next assignment is 22 points. So if you don't do your next assignment,
Doesn't count. No
well,
matter.
half of your points are gone already because you got 20 points, but you don't get 22. You guys get it? All right. There is something I did fail to mention. I think that how many tries did I give you guys for assignments before?
Like unlimited.
Did I give you unlimited or 3 or something like that?
Some of them were like 3.
Okay.
And
These
then
are
other ones were
a lot of these questions are multiple choice with only 4 options. I'm not going to give you unlimited tries. That's ridiculous.
Well,
I'm going
this
to give
one
you
get-
3
This
tries.
one
Yeah, that's
you
how
gave
it normally
unlimited.
was.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
It's
Yeah.
normally-
Or I think I'm going to give you actually 4 tries,
All right, 4 times.
which is 4 choices. So maybe I'm going to check. But
Yeah.
you're only going to have a limited amount of tries. And I'm going to tell you this now. I don't want you to turn in late work. I want you to turn it in. Turn it in. But if you don't make the deadline, still work on it and turn it in late. Because I'll still accept it. All right? The reason why I don't want you to turn in late work is because you see how much work we have.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have a whole lot to do each day, if you don't do your work for 2 weeks, that is a whole bunch of homework you're going to be swamped with. You guys get it? So this is really important that you guys keep up with your homework for this quarter. Because if not, you guys are just going to get behind and it's going to be terrible. It's going to be horrible for you folks. Got it? There is going to be a date, and I think the first time I do this is, okay, I have it posted here. On February 12th, I'm going to close all of the assignments previous to that date.
Oh, are you gonna?
So that means, what is that?
Is it because like you're closing your grade book or something?
I'm closing the grade book for all the assignments previous to that. So that's saying I'm going to have certain dates. I only got I think 2 dates in this quarter where I say I'm going to accept late work. And then at some point I'll just be like, nope, done. You cannot turn it in late. I'm done. You know what I mean? Because at that point it's just like, that's ridiculous. I've given you 4 weeks to do this assignment. You need to turn it in. So there are certain dates, and I'll announce it well ahead of time to say, look, everything previous to this needs to come in by February 12th. All assignments need to be in. If not, they close, and the computer closes them, and it would be a whole bunch of work that I would have to go through to open them back up again just for you for something. You know what I mean? So I'm giving you a lot of time. I'm giving you folks some chances. It's up to you folks to do as well as you can in this class. All right, that's pretty much everything for the class. Can I start up talking about my lecture?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to give you a heads up, week 1, I have you turning in homework assignments from chapter 3, but I'm not going to do any lecture on chapter 3 because that's what we covered in December, right? So that's really just to catch me up. Today I'm going to start off with lecture on chapter 4. Which is good because I'm actually reviewing chapter 3 when I start my lecture today. So, so it's up to you folks to do the reading and do all of this stuff. But this is all stuff we talked about last quarter. I'm just giving you assignments based off of that so that you can say, hey, remember this stuff? Jog your memory. Because I hate to say, well, not I hate to say it, but the chapter 4 stuff that we're covering, which is meiosis, has a lot to do with the stuff that we covered when we covered mitosis. Got it? All right. Do we got anybody new coming in? Nope. All right. So here's my question for you, and we'll start this class off with a conversation.
Yeah.
All right. I want you guys to participate in the conversation. So can you hear my voice? Audio check.
Or they're gonna talk to.
Yeah, well, no, they can chat in, and you guys can talk. And here's my question for you. All right. Here's the situation I find myself in because I've got a 11-year-old boy, and I still haven't had the talk with him, and I'm really nervous about that whole thing. Yeah.
Really?
So I'm all like freaking out. So here's my question.
Thumbs up.
Have you folks do you guys had the birds and the bees conversation with your parents?
That
Yeah,
taught me.
but I
That
figured it
had
out.
taught me.
No, I'm just wondering. I'm wondering. I'm trying to get an idea of like, do I gotta come? Okay. All right. I just want. Okay. All right. Here's
Chill.
Here's my question for you. What are the advantages of sexual reproduction?
Well,
More of
Why do it?
so that
That's my question.
so that we can keep
Because I can tell you a whole lot of reasons why not to.
more humans. More human. I mean, like I wouldn't want more humans, but like
No, okay,
it'll
okay.
keep the population of humans expanding, and like with more
Nothing.
people,
All right. Here I got a question.
you can
Maybe one day, and I'm not sure. This might always be a topic that is very controversial, but cloning. Okay, if we could figure out how to clone
they call
things.
it sheep.
Should we? Yeah, we have. We've cloned an animal. Should we clone things? And what?
Well, I
Things
wouldn't.
could go wrong.
I mean, look at all the movies.
Actually,
cloning
no. The point is
Terminator.
things could go right.
True. Things
You could
go
make
right,
an exact copy of yourself, but would you want to have an exact copy of
No.
yourself?
No, I wouldn't. You know, scientifically, if you
I
made
saw
a,
Mr. Peabody and all that stuff.
All right. So here's my question:
I
what's the
would,
advantages of sex?
well, like the more the humans repopulate, the more we grow, and like the more we
Well,
grow, like,
I know about repopulation. I know about population and obviously making babies.
Yeah.
That's why you have sex, right? But a lot of species don't have sex to make babies. There are species that are asexual. That, like, for example, a starfish. A starfish, you cut it in half and it makes 2 starfish.
Oh.
Right?
We'd be like that.
Dude, no, seriously.
Is that how Patrick
Starfish?
says it, boy?
You cut it in half, 2 starfish.
So it's
Wouldn't
like
that
Aaron,
be-
he cut his arm off.
Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
super advantageous, right?
True,
You
true.
wouldn't. What would you not have to do? You wouldn't have to go on dates. You
Sure,
wouldn't have to
sure.
go and buy dinner,
I mean,
for
just
people-
cut
yourself in
you
half.
You wouldn't have to go through drama.
Looking like Marco.
right? You wouldn't have to wait till you're like a teenager and you hit puberty, right? You just cut it in half.
Wait, but like, how?
All right. Here.
How would the other person have like, would they produce their own brain or something? Like, how would that work? Because technically,
Well,
they'll have half
we'll
their
go
brain,
into
but, like,
asexual reproduction. We will go into that is lesson 2. I'm talking about lesson 1 now, totally. But I agree with you. I think that there is a process where they actually make either an exact clone of themselves, or they make you cut it in half and then you make more of it. But it's still the things. We're talking about sex today.
Quick question.
Oh no!
I think I finished about 12.
Okay, because Chelsea, your mom was calling the front office to figure out what time to come get you.
Okay.
Oh.
So, 12? Is that what?
Yeah, give your mom a call, Chelsea.
Okay, sorry.
Me too.
All right.
Thanks.
So Nick, a whole hour of this. I'm sorry. No.
But you're
Excuse me, real quick.
you're not here.
I'm reading your chat. No, what I'm saying is, look what I'm saying is, there are a lot of, I can think of a lot of disadvantages.
I can too.
I can think of a lot of disadvantages. First of all, you have to you have to wait for an organism to reach the age of puberty in order for it to produce reproductive, cells to make these things. The second thing that I can think of is dating and trying to find a mate. Now, don't don't think of like for just humans, but like think of like animals trying to find a mate. If they're out there trying to look for a mate, no, but basically they're out there like making a big scene. What about predators that come around and it's going to eat them while they're trying to find a mate?
Okay, you know what I see sometimes? I see some like birds sit on each other.
Yeah,
Sorry, what?
yeah.
What?
And I see like the pigeons. They make their butts up in the air and
Hey, I see that.
Oh, Miley Cyrus.
Wait, that's what they do. What is that?
what they're doing is they're trying to find a
then
mate. But here's what
I see that.
right. But here's my point: is if they're out there trying to find a mate, trying to impress a female to come over. Hey, come look at me. Come look at me. Right? Humans don't have to worry about this, but other species do. What about predators? What about like
What do you mean?
well, I'm talking about like if you're a mouse and you're trying to find a mate, and you're all like, hey, let's go out there and
But
try to
then
make a big
somebody
scene,
tries eating
and then there's a rattlesnake that comes and eats you.
Well, then.
Oh.
Like, wouldn't it be safer for the mouse to just have to cut off his arm and then make new
Yeah.
mice?
Yeah.
I wonder if Aaron can do that.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't need to go and do all of that. They can
Just.
asexually reproduce.
Yeah.
They can clone themselves. So what I'm saying is, it seems like to me that there's a lot of disadvantages for sexual reproduction. And I'll tell
There
you,
is.
actually, here's the advantage. Okay, here's the advantage: is it gives you genetic variation.
What's that?
Now, what that is
like-
this: it makes you look a little bit different from the parent. So the kids look a little bit different. They have obviously
Features.
same features,
Yeah.
similar features, but they look different. They vary a little bit genetically. Because imagine this. Imagine if maybe say that in a perfect society, like I moved, or like they flew Jonathan off to another planet or something like that, and we need to populate that. We need to populate that planet. So all we did was we just kind of cloned all Jonathan. So now we have 1 million Jonathans. Jonathan doesn't need to find a mate because there's no point. We can just clone them, right? So here's the problem. Jonathan's pretty awesome, but here's the problem. Okay, what happens if there's a specific disease that will
Comes to everybody.
attack Jonathan?
It comes to everybody
Like only
else.
John.
No, but I mean, it's like Jonathan
Jonathan
is
number
more
one or all
susceptible to this
Jonathans?
disease. What happens is it will wipe out that whole population
Why?
because they all have the same
Yeah,
genes.
he was the one who started it off, though.
Right, because they're all the same exact thing.
Oh.
But when you have sexual reproduction, you're having two things come together and they're making something kind of the same but a little bit different. So now what happens if Jonathan has a mate and they have a child, that child is a little bit different, maybe different enough to survive that disease that comes through.
Like, pass on cancer or something.
Right. So maybe so that's the advantages of having sexual reproduction is it makes things different. When I said what about clones, and you said the problem is what if there's a mistake? Actually, the problem is there is no mistakes
Really?
Oh, because
because
It's the exact same thing.
with sexual reproduction, it's kind of like two things come together and it makes a mistake. It makes a change, a small change.
my mom
And
and
my
my brother. Oh my gosh, we actually weren't supposed to have my little brother.
Well, yeah, that happens often, but I'm just saying. No, what I mean is it makes something a little bit different. It changes something just a little bit.
Just save it.
Right, because if it were clones, it would be the exact same copy as before. But if it's, if it's a product of sexual reproduction, it makes something just a little bit different. Now here, let me show you. Here's a picture of these two plants belong to the same species. However, the one on the right is a cassava leaf that has a specific disease that attacked it. Actually, the disease attacked both of these plants. But the one on the right died, and the one on the left survived.
No,
Made me throw up.
I had to think for a second. Which one was left? Which one is left?
No, but I mean, just think about it. This is the same plant, but they went through genetic variation. One is just a little bit different, and when a disease came, it only killed one of them, but it survived. It left the other one intact.
Huh.
They're the same species,
But one small kind of.
Right. But one small kind different. And then, so here's the thing: in the next generation, which plant is going to reproduce? Which plant is going to continue to make more plants? The one on the left, the one that's not dead, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So now, when that disease comes through, it's not going to affect all of these plants over here and their children. But then all of these plants over here and their children basically die. Does that make sense? So, there's a motivation
What if that one had kids?
for
but like,
why sexual reproduction is actually advantageous. Do you understand?
Yes, but what if the right one actually did manage to make another
Well,
right one?
then that
but,
other
like,
right one would.
But that one was still pretty screwed up. Like, it came back.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. All right, I'm reading the comments. I really am. But
Per se, dead virus.
I know that you guys are throwing up, and I apologize. I'm doing this as best as I can.
No, I wouldn't
But
think.
you
If,
don't-
You've got a slightly
I
awkward
ask
situation with a math teacher trying to teach you guys about biology.
I wouldn't think Josh. I was thinking of Joshua's question. If per se there is a dead virus, like, no, I wouldn't think that the clone body would be immune to it because, like, oh hey, what's up, JP? No,
No, you clone
Really?
when you clone, like, all right, here.
because your clone just has the
Yeah,
same
but-
exact
Check this out.
stuff as you.
Yeah.
See this
Like,
plant right here?
Yeah,
This one right here.
yeah.
Okay. This plant, let me look it up exactly what it's called. It's a type of grass, all right? And it undergoes asexual reproduction.
So
It
it's
is,
like the seeds just fly off.
all right, here we go. This is a crabgrass, and it doesn't have seeds. No. It just, the roots, parts of the
Oh,
roots,
the spread.
basically make more of the same plant. So all of this crabgrass is really just the same kind of crabgrass. Now this is really good for us. You know why it's really good? Because we can develop a weed killer that is specific to this one type of thing, and it will kill off all the crabgrass in the area. Because that crabgrass didn't sexually reproduce, it just
kind of
duplicated
cloned
itself.
somewhere.
yeah,
That's like my mom would tell me not to
it
throw
cloned
weeds.
itself all the way across the board.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
So that's why you don't like
that's
throw
really thinking
leaves.
But-
about Maggie.
Check. Audio
Because
check. Is the
your
audio
baby
coming through?
leaves.
JP, I understand you're throwing up.
JP.
JP, you're going to have to stop that because I seriously need you to stop that. We need to get through this conversation. If it really bothers you, you can log out of the class and then I can talk about it with you individually. It's up to you. All right. All right, cool. So what I'm saying is, like, what happens if this crabgrass gets everywhere? Well, one advantage is we can develop a pesticide specific to that crabgrass and kill all the crabgrass in the entire area, everywhere. And that is a big disadvantage for the crabgrass.
Mm,
Wait,
Right?
So would they attack
They
like
say your computer's
the whatchamacallit, the main starter? Would they just poison the one?
No, it's not one of those. It's not like a sci-fi movie where you poison the queen and everything dies.
Ah, that would have been
But-
so awesome.
But what you could do is
Just go
you
along
basically
the
go
lines.
and spray this thing everywhere, and it will kill all of that
Because it
crabgrass.
all has the
Now-
same-
Now we can't necessarily do that because a lot of plants go through sexual reproduction, and then they basically change their genetics. So then you make a pesticide, and it only works
for that
for
one.
a little bit of the plants, but not all of them,
Yeah,
because all of them are a little bit different. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's almost like if you made a disease that would kill all of the Asian people with straight hair, that wouldn't kill everybody.
So pretty much every
That would
Asian
kill a lot of
was
people.
That's J-bomb.
No, but I'm just saying, if an alien race came in and they wanted to wipe out the human race, and they made a disease, they went and picked me up, they abducted me, and they made a disease that would kill people with my exact genes, right? That would wipe me out. That would probably wipe a lot of the Filipinos and the Chinese out,
We did.
No.
We did already.
but that wouldn't kill everybody because everybody doesn't have my exact same genes. If we were a cloning population, right? If we went off to the planet where Jonathan got cloned and that's what populated the world,
You know,
then all you did is take one of those things, make a disease for that one type of gene, and then it will kill off the entire planet. Does that make sense? So here's the advantages of sexual reproduction. So anyway, there's a lot to go through with this class today, and that's all we're going to talk about with in terms of sex and being awkward and everything. That's all we're going to talk about. I wanted to kind of motivate
Can we
you.
make a code name for this? I can't.
What?
6, 5, 6,
Facts.
7.
What are you talking about? Okay.
The code name.
Well, we're done. We're done.
Unicorn.
Okay.
Unicorn.
We're done talking about unicorns.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So let me start off chapter 4 with reminding you kind of what happened in chapter
This
3.
is school.
All right.
Exactly.
All right.
Question.
Um.
I want a cat.
So we're talking about sexual reproduction, and we're going to talk about 2 cats. Okay.
Unicorn.
One's an orange cat. One's a gray cat, and this is where sexual reproduction is the type of reproduction that happens when genetic material is combined from 2 different parents making a single offspring. That's different from a. You're torturing us even more than our parents have.
Nah. Parents are way more awkward about it because they
Really?
like to sit down and stuff. My
They
mom
like to
tried
sit
doing
down
it,
and they like to
and I
look
was
you in the
like,
eye.
Mom, get
I
away.
walked away.
I already know
walked
this
away.
talk.
I didn't talk about like. Never mind. I thought that all I talked about
Yeah,
is
you
like.
didn't talk about that much.
You
You
just
just were
talked
talking
about
about
the science
reproduction.
part. You didn't talk
Right.
about how it
You
works.
didn't talk about anything else, like how it works and everything. So I'm like, gee.
Right. All I'm saying is, look, from now on, all we're going to cover is the actual cells, and we're going to take a look
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
cells.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Gruesome.
That's all we're talking about. So here's stuff you should probably already know. The girls make eggs, the boys make sperm. That's it, right? They come together and they fertilize and they make a zygote. So I think at that point, that's pretty much all my son knows is the girls have an eggs and the dad has a sperm, and that's it.
Hey, quick question.
I gotta finish that talk with him. I'm so nervous about it.
Oh my gosh.
All right, what's up? Quick question.
How come they make the word so weird?
How come these words are weird?
Yeah, like
They're like,
Yeah, there's so many weird words in here. I agree.
science. Why can make X?
it's simple words like cheese.
Well, it's because I think that a lot of this stuff comes from Latin.
Yeah, well, that's mainly where most languages come from. Like they.
Well, right, and the reason for that is because it's just it's a universal way of kind of bringing it all together. It's a whole language in itself.
You get what I mean.
All right, diploid cells. We've talked about diploid cells. Here's what a diploid cell is. A diploid cell are cells that have pairs of chromosomes. Pairs of chromosomes that have genes for the same traits are arranged in order and called homologous chromosomes. So,
I'm sorry.
when we talked about like the cell duplicating itself through mitosis? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
I'll recover that just a little bit. But remember covering that?
It
That
was
is
the thing
making-
look like X's,
That is
yeah?
making a diploid cells. They look like X's, and I talked about them being identical butterfly wings, and we ripped them apart so that we had identical things. Yeah, we had sister chromatids. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're talking about here. Okay? Now, chromosomes, humans have 46 chromosomes, but actually they have 23 homologous pairs. Look at these numbers. All right, so different things have different number of chromosomes. Fruit flies only have 8, whereas rice has 24. It seems like a fruit fly would be much more complicated than rice, but I don't think it has to do with complicated. I just think that's the way it is. Got it? Yeast has 32. Now, these come in pairs, so actually you only need 23 of them to kind of make up a piece of it, but then 46 of them come together to make a full set. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
All right. And these pairs are really important. These chromosomes are really important. If something has too many or too few, that's a bad thing. Like, for example, do you know anybody who has Down syndrome?
Yeah.
Have you ever met somebody who has Down
He
syndrome?
has autism.
Oh,
Okay. Well, Down syndrome is caused by having an extra copy of the 21st chromosome. So here's the
So-
chromosomes, and here's what we did. Is these chromosomes, which you usually see as X's, this is only half of the X. Each of
Yeah.
these is half of an X. Okay? Each of these lines is half of an X, and after we go through the first, remember there's the interphase, the S phase,
Yeah.
the interphase 2, and then the mitosis and that
So
kind of stuff.
first they're connected.
After we go through the G phase, I think it's called, that's when we get the full X. So this is only half of the chromosome. Got it? And we arrange them in order of size. So this is human chromosome 1, and here's human chromosome 2, and 3, and 4. And obviously it just gets, you just choose it based on the size.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of lag because that picture took like a couple minutes to come up.
I believe these chromosomes are the males, and then these are the females' chromosomes. They look very similar, but they're a little bit different. Got it?
How do you know which is which?
I think that the Y is associated with the male, and the X is associated with the female,
Oh,
right? So I'm just assuming that the things in left.
same Ramona.
All right. So let's re-talk about mitosis. All right.
Mitosis.
This is.
Tell them the joke. Tell
All right,
them.
fine, I'll do it.
Do
All right.
Lighten up the mood.
All right, fine, I'll do it. Okay.
You'll feel better.
What did the brother cell say to the sister cell
When the sisters.
when the sister stepped on his toe?
That's no, we're not rednecks here. Oh god.
It says, "Ow, mitosis." Ha.
That's a knee slapper.
Okay, that was my joke. All right, going on. We're talking about mitosis. Okay. So the first thing, we have our chromosomes, right? And then we go through that interphase and S phase and that kind of stuff, and we actually make these chromosomes. This is half of the X. We make them into these X's, right? Do you guys remember this? This is called prophase 1. It's where the DNA condenses into chromosomes, and then you have a nucleus, which is that little bit darker circle. Do you guys see it? And then these, I think they were called the spindles, and these little spindles, they
go everywhere. But
they kind of tie onto the
Yeah.
the things.
It's like a
They
balloon.
surround it.
Yeah?
Right. And then in metaphase, that's this phase right here. That's where here we'll just go through it slowly.
Do they get jumbled up?
In metaphase, here's what happens: is you kind of have these things. The nucleus disappears, and these chromosomes. What they do is they align themselves. And this is actually one of the straightest lines you find in nature, which I think is cool. They make themselves all aligned. And then remember the spindles. What they do is they hold on to each of the pieces, because this left half of this X and this right half of this X, they have identical pieces of information. I kind of think of it as a butterfly, with the left wing having the identical pattern as the right wing, right? And so the point of this is try to make two of these things, right?
So they rip it.
So what happens is they rip it in half, and they have half of the X comes over here on the left, and half of the X comes on the right. Does that make sense? These spindles, these ropes, they contract, they get smaller, and that rips it in half.
It's like a
Does
bubble
it
hut.
continue to do that?
Huh?
Does it just keep on doing that?
Yeah, that does that, because what's happening is our cells are trying to duplicate. For example, if you get a cut on your arm and you're losing blood cells, you're going to need to replace those blood cells. Well, your body basically duplicates the blood cells through the process of mitosis to have, so you can have more. This is what we covered before. I'm just reviewing it, okay? Because the stuff we're going to be covering has a lot to do with this. Got it? So, mitosis. Julian, that made me throw up. All right. So,
Children, stop talking and just listen.
we have a prophase, a metaphase, an anaphase, and I believe this is called the telophase.
So prophase comes first, yeah?
Yeah. So I think PMAT. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. PMAT. P-M-A-T.
Oh.
That's what I think. Got it? All right. Now, what happens in the telophase is these things get fully ripped apart, and then it cleaves here in the middle. It basically cuts down the middle like a cleaver, and then
does it turn back to?
it turns into two separate things.
And then it
So
just goes back
here's the
to
thing with mitosis is you start off with one cell like this, and you end up with two cells that look exactly like the first cell. There's just two of them now.
because it's duplicated.
Because it's duplicated. It's like a copy machine. Okay? Does that make sense to you? Why can I?
Let me answer that.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. We're not even.
Well, I'm not talking about anything.
Yeah,
I think.
you're not talking. Oh.
Okay. I emailed you guys ahead of time to let you guys know.
Check y'all email.
All right, here we go. Okay. So now what we're going to talk about is we've talked about this before. Here's the meiosis process. Here's the prophase. I don't want any
That
sound.
looks way different from the.
Here's the metaphase where they align, right? And the spindles are lining up. Here's the anaphase where they're getting pulled apart. And then the telophase is where that cleaving happens in the middle where they're getting cut in half. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool. Now, haploid cells. Haploid cells are actually, I guess I can think of those as diploid cells is what we talked about. Those are duplicated cells. Most of the cells that get duplicated are diploid cells. Got it? Haploid cells talks about very specific cells. They talk about sex cells specifically. And so that would be either the sperm or the egg. Those are haploid cells. The big difference between diploid cells and haploid cells is diploid cells contain 46 chromosomes for a human. They contain all of the DNA genetic makeup. Haploid cells only contain half
So 20.
of the chromosome information. Yeah, 23, exactly. Why is that? Well, because when the sperm and the egg come together, they form a zygote, right? A cell that is basically the first cell of you or first cell of a baby. And that requires 46. Well, guess where it got half of its information from?
Its parents.
It's got half of the information from the 23 cells in the sperm,
But does it like create?
or not 23 cells, the 23 chromosomes in the sperm, and the 23 chromosomes in the egg. So the haploid cells are like the half the genetic information that you need.
Oh.
And when those two come together, they make up the full 46 that you need. Got it? All right.
Years.
I'm so sorry. All right.
Just wait till you get to high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
High
gosh,
school.
my friend came home and she's like, ugh.
So meiosis is different from mitosis. Mitosis is the process of duplicating cells. And we covered that before, right? Meiosis is only used when we're duplicating cells that are going to be used for sex cells. When we're producing the sperm or the egg. That's meiosis. Got it? So meiosis doesn't happen as much as mitosis. Meiosis only happens for specific cells. We need to talk about those cells. Got it? I feel like I'm not really going into like the really gritty stuff. I'm just going into like
Yeah,
Wait, I have
the
a
cells.
question. I have a question. So like, it's the egg and the sperm, whatever, and they're inside the tummy. But like, how come the baby sometimes is a miscarriage?
how come there's a miscarriage? Actually, I'll be honest with you, I feel like that's a question that you would have to ask a biology teacher for deeper information on
I'm
that.
gonna Google it. Thank you.
But I don't think necessarily that has to do with like what we're talking about with meiosis.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a good question though.
It's
It's definitely a
kinda-
question I would want a scientist to solve.
They don't know.
Okay,
Well, it's-
so what was the different phases that mitosis went through? Remind me.
PMAT, yeah.
PMAT. So
So-
that stands for
Prophase.
Prophase.
and then
Metaphase.
Metaphase.
I copied the wrong thing.
Anaphase.
Anaphase,
Telophase.
telophase. Good. Meiosis goes through those four things, but they do it twice. It does it twice. And it obviously
So is it once it
The-
duplicates itself, does it do it again with the
Right.
duplication?
Yes, it duplicates and duplicates again, and it does its duplication very similar to mitosis, but there are differences, and those differences are really important for us to discuss. Obviously, because remember, the whole point when I started this conversation, we don't want exact copies of the same cells, like in mitosis, right? Because that would produce no genetic variation. That would be like cloning themselves. Mitosis is essentially cloning the cells. That's what it's doing, is making an exact copy. But in meiosis, we don't want that. Why don't we want that? Because we want those small changes, those small variations, so that way we can basically,
Evolve.
well, we can have differences. We can make these small changes, right? Okay, so here's what's going on. All right, and let me kind of just show you folks what's happening. And I have a few videos as far as, other people talking about it with animations, and I think they have really good animations. So you can watch their videos and whatnot, and I have you guys watching that. So anyway, the point of this is this, and let me kind of tell you the general idea. With mitosis, we are taking a cell and making exact copies, and we were making 2 new cells that were exact copies of that first cell.
Do the 2 new cells make another exact?
Yeah, and then those go through copying themselves again, and and it pretty much happens, I think, for humans every 24 hours. These cells are duplicated.
So like,
All right, now,
do they just always do that? Like,
yeah, but then our cells die off too,
oh yeah.
right? Because you're thinking, well, why am I not getting twice as big every day, right? Why am I not doubling in size every day? Well, because
There's other cells that
your cells are dying off. You're losing a lot of cells.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about how much hair you're losing. Well, those are all cells. That you're right. Okay. In fact, a lot of your dead cells goes into your hair, and that's what makes your hair. Your hair is all dead cells. It's all dead you. Okay.
But how does it stick?
Now so we talk about mitosis. It is taking one thing and making exact duplicates. So you take that one thing and make two new things, but they're exact duplicates of the first thing.
Wait, hold on.
In meiosis, that's what we're talking about now, meiosis.
Okay.
That takes the one thing and it makes 4 new things. And those 4 new things are all different from that first thing it started off with.
Wait. So like, do some of them take like more than 1/4 then? There's like.
I'll show you exactly what happens. It's really interesting. But it basically takes that one thing that has 46 chromosomes and makes 4 new cells, each having 23 chromosomes each. And they are all different from the first thing. And that's the point. That's why you don't look exactly like your dad or exactly like your mom. You are not a clone copy of your mom. You're not even a mixture of your mom and dad, right? A black squirrel and a white squirrel does not make a gray squirrel.
It makes a panda squirrel.
It kind of makes a black and white squirrel. Some of the features are from the dad. Some of the features are like from the mom.
Now I know you.
Does that make sense?
It's like fusion from Dragon
It
Ball
doesn't.
Z.
It doesn't exactly mix it like you're mixing a pancake or like a batter or a cake.
Wow.
You mix them kind of like it's like a bunch of Legos that you mix match.
I love Legos. It takes parts and then.
Yeah, it takes parts and mixes them together.
Yeah,
So
make something.
in meiosis, we have 2. So I guess one way to think of meiosis as PMAT times 2. It has a prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and then it has a prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, telophase 2. Actually, it has a prophase 1, metaphase 1, telophase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1, and then it goes through PMAT again. It's just
4 times.
Exactly
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
All right. And here's the thing about this. Meiosis 2, let me show you meiosis 2.
Be like, Louis, shut up.
Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
No comics. I mean, no everything. No voice.
All right, prophase 2. Don't give me any sound. Okay, this is where the spindles align,
It's like the world's exploding.
right? And they aligned up vertically, up and down,
Mm-hmm. And then they get separated, right?
and they get ripped apart, and then they get cleaved in half through the
It's the same thing.
telophase. Prophase 2 is exactly the same as mitosis.
But it's just creating more.
It's our prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, telophase 2. That's exactly what's happening. That's the same steps as mitosis. The thing that's different is this first stage. So we're going to talk about that in detail. That's what makes this different from mitosis. The prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1 does different things, and it does something a little bit different. Got it? So here's what happens. In prophase 1, the nuclear membrane breaks apart, just like what we did. The chromosomes condense to form homologous pairs. Actually, they don't talk about...
I keep on thinking homunculi from Fullmetal Alchemist. Stop. Reciprocity classes.
All right. Here's what... You know what? I'll just do a video. You're doing really good with your Korean, by the way.
We're not talking Korean right now.
I'm just saying. I'm
We're saying
mispronouncing
Reese's
Pieces.
I know.
But yeah, she's doing pretty good at her Korean.
What's wrong with my video? I can't show my video.
I studied Japanese and Italian, but I can understand it more than I can speak it.
Did your computer freeze or something?
My computer froze.
Do you have too many things open?
No, fam. Unlike you.
Possibly.
He only has 2 things open.
No, I have a whole bunch of other stuff open.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
did you just open another page thing?
Well,
I tried sharing my video.
TV doesn't show everything.
Oh, trash.
I just threw away the PowerPoint.
Oh. Hey.
Audio check.
That poor kid.
Oh, poor child. Did you get a bucket?
Audio check. What's going on, Julian? I'm sorry I made
so
you.
scarred.
I'm sorry I made you throw up. All right, I'm trying to share my computer screen with you.
Here, I got you. I got you covered.
All right.
The Sweeper Squad version of the So then we started going, yeah.
Okay, Julian, do me a favor. Julian, you need to drop out of the video.
No, don't.
Yeah, Julian needs to drop out of the video
Face
chat.
cam.
Sorry.
Your face creeps me out. Oh, how nice.
Oh, can you
All right.
see?
I was listening to Canada's national
Okay,
anthem.
can you guys see me?
And then the rest of the other.
Yeah, it's lagging.
Oh,
It's lagging, but can you see me? All right. So check this out. Here's what happens.
Oh, this is so cute.
Oh,
Yeah, I
great.
think you need a darker pen.
Oh, did you throw the other one?
I did because that one was junk.
Yeah, that one's
That
is so me bowling.
Not the roof.
I gotta go get new pens. I'll be right back.
Can I say hi to the class?
Yeah, sure.
Ow!
Wow. So different.
Wait,
Where's-
like happy birthday, Costume.
What?
Shoot.
All right, so check this out. Can you guys see me?
Hi.
I hope these pens work.
Free pen.
None of these pens work. What about this one?
What? Have one in my bag?
Yay! It works.
Oh.
It works.
All right.
I don't know if they can see that, can they?
No, they can.
Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so this is our chromosome. This is our chromosome, right? And it goes through the G phase, and it duplicates itself, and it makes the X that we're used to, right?
Yeah.
So it went through the interphase and the G phase, and it made the X that we're used to, right? So let's say this one is from,
Oh, Mr. Jordan, you see our camera, you see it now.
I guess I'm trying to make it bigger.
Bigger is better.
Go big or go home, man. I know
Can you
my
see
mom.
that, Sierra? Is that better? All right. I need another pen. I definitely need another
Why
pen.
don't you write it on paper and
You want me
hold
to
it
check if I
next to
have
the-
one?
It's all pixie made.
Because that's ghetto.
Hey, you can take anyone out of the ghetto. You can't take the ghetto out of the other person. That's why I got ghetto germs and I never get sick in Kahlua.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm ghetto, but
I'm just saying.
I'm from my
Mr.
family, you know?
Dolbe, JP's asking if he can leave.
No, JP. I mean, you could if you want to, but you shouldn't. You may not like us for the health at school. Why not food? Ah,
Wait, you said her food?
yeah, I still have the cuties. and
Because
stuff.
it's school. It's the third time
I'm
I
sorry, I
repeated.
don't have babies and yeah, I don't have how do you say pussies now?
All right.
Uje.
Woozy.
Uje.
Woozy.
Uje.
I'm gonna say woozy still, yeah. Good.
All right, so check this out.
I feel
This. Does this work? Can you see that? The green?
Yes, that looks really,
All right.
really good. It's like Christmassy.
So, in prophase 1 of meiosis, here's what happens. This is what kind of shuffles the cards to make it look, or to make it vary things. Okay? You have your chromosomes, and you've got, like, let's say a small X over here and a small X over here.
EXO or
Now,
Sierra can't see anything?
You're blind if you can't see.
oh no, I think it's because it's lagging or something.
all
Yeah,
right,
it is lagging.
It's a laggy.
yeah, I understand. Okay.
Be quiet, JP.
Well, here, I'll do me a favor. I'm just going to do this as best as I can, and then you can watch the recording if you're confused. Here's what happens. Okay, in prophase 1, what happens is these sister chromatids line up with each other,
oh, and then they get.
and then what happens is we call this crossover. What happens is this. Say that this piece of the chromosome right here is the chromosome that's responsible for, or the trait that's responsible for eye color. Let's pretend that this part's right here is for eye color. So maybe your dad has green eyes and your mom has red eyes. I don't know. Your mom has.
That'd be
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, no.
Let's say your dad has green eyes and your mom has brown eyes,
Oh, sure, you
or something like that,
Wait,
right?
so I'm confused. My mom and dad have brown eyes, but my sister got
Has
blue
like
eyes.
blue.
Well,
like,
we'll talk
really
about that.
weird
That's
eyes.
actually talking about genetics. We'll get to that in chapter 5. Yes.
Can you use your whiteboard on your computer?
No,
No,
not really.
that's
okay.
This one doesn't have a whiteboard thing.
Okay.
All right. So here's what happens: is randomly this thing goes through and it switches out certain ones. So you're going to end up with something that looks like
Fam, what?
Turn them around and turn those two around, put them together.
something that looks like this.
Oh, because it kind of like just.
So
cut
it
parts
takes
of-
this and I'm going to cut this out and switch this.
It took
It
pieces.
switched this.
Oh.
So it switches these pieces. So you end up with kind of a hybrid
So one,
Version.
like 2 out of 4 in each.
of it. Yeah, and then so this thing will make it like this, and then the other one will obviously be exactly this thing but opposite colors. So something like this.
Because I like ruining lives. It's fun.
There. So this thing mix matches it up. See, these two sister chromatids come together, they mix match parts of their pieces, and then they make something like this. 2 different sister chromatids. You guys got it?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a mix match. I'll share parts of it with you.
Oh.
So what happens is this, like if we end up using this sister chromatid to make that person, then this person's going to have brown eyes. Because this section right here was for the eyes, right?
Oh.
Whereas this person would have green eyes,
Mm.
because that section's right there is for the eyes. Or
What?
something like that.
One more question.
So what it does is it mixes it up. It doesn't make it like I'm going to mix a little bit of the green and a little bit of the brown and make it
Oh.
ugly green
Hang in there, Isabella.
eyes. Does that make sense?
Oh, one more question. So, when it divides, like when it pieces themselves up and mixed and gets shuffled, they use the whole entire thing, right?
It still uses the whole thing, yes.
That's why I was
But it,
thinking
like,
when you drew the
splits it.
other one, I was like, wait, why are you drawing another one? It's because they have to use the whole thing.
All right, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video now and I'm going to go back to sharing my computer screen.
Thank you.
Because let me show you. I don't understand. What's wrong with that? What makes you feel awkward about mixing those things up?
Children.
It's not like talking about the stuff
It's like
and the other
chocolate,
stuff and
making
more
chocolate
stuff and
milk.
some other
It's
stuff
never-
and more other stuff.
Wait, no, it's not. Maybe.
Bam!
It's not. Never mind.
Don't
It
just
is
say
the
chocolate, making chocolate milk. Get the Hershey's.
That's-
I just need to say
Never
get
mind,
the
never
Hershey's and I'm
mind.
done with you. Get out. Just get out.
All right. I'm going back to sharing my computer screen, so make sure you guys open up that window. Got it? All right. So, in prophase 1, we have these guys line up and they mix match pieces. That's why in this picture right here, you see these X's, but they're multicolored X's.
Yeah.
You guys got it? Now, in prophase, what's after prophase 1? Metaphase 1. In metaphase 1,
Oh, Matt.
what happens is they basically align themselves up vertically, so that way they are not necessarily vertically, but they align themselves up so that they can be split apart. And then what happens in anaphase 1 is you're not actually ripping the butterfly in half, but what you're doing is you're taking these two things and putting it on this side, and then these two sister chromatids and putting it on that side. Does that make sense?
Oh.
And then it goes through telophase 1, which is actually splitting these apart. And then prophase 2 is basically mitosis. But look exactly how this thing goes. Is this mitosis that happens is actually, you're taking these two sister chromatids, right?
And then,
You're aligning them, just like in mitosis. You're
and then-
splitting it up. And now you have 4 different cells.
Oh.
But look, this is the cell that it began with, and these are the 4 cells that it ended with. Do the cells that it ended with look like the cells it began with?
No.
Not even close. I mean, close, but not
But like not exact.
not exact copies, for sure. So what happens is you're making these haploid cells, which has 23 chromosomes, right? And these, what we call these haploid cells, we call these gametes, because we're talking about the sexual reproduction cells. So these gametes are actually sperm cells
That's what I was thinking.
or egg cells for females.
Bye.
And what's happening is you're making a different cell than the parent cell. The parent cell looks like this. This is what your parent cell look like. And then the
This is the baby.
the
cell,
baby cells look very different from the parent cell.
But there's so much to talk.
Right. And so we can actually change the order in which these come in. So now, instead of having 4 different ways we can configure this, there's actually 6 billion different ways to configure this, because the analogy I gave you, or this picture, only shows 2 chromosomes. But how many chromosomes does humans have? They have 23 chromosomes to mix and match.
Make 48.
Well, and then what happens is you can mix and match those, but even the order in which they come in makes a difference. Like big red versus little red is different from like little red and big red. If I switch the order of these guys, if I make it in a different order, that's a totally different cell.
Really?
Yeah. So even the order matters as far as like these cells. So what happens is you'll have all of these different combinations of humans. So I guess to me that means that like you could have over 6 billion different humans, and they'll all be exactly different in terms of their genes. Cool?
Cool. Yeah.
All right. So that's meiosis, which is kind of like mitosis, but there are little changes here and there. And it's not really that gross. I mean, all you're doing is just mixing these things up.
Cells.
Because the whole point of this is to get that genetic variation. That's really the goal that they're trying to achieve, that this thing is trying to achieve. So here's meiosis, all right? You've got the prophase 1, okay? And you've got those spindles going and aligning them.
What app is this? Oh,
Wait,
website.
you know, I realized did they mix it up yet? Okay, look, see those X's?
Oh, they're getting mixed up. They remind me of those,
What they did was they started off as
yarn
you can
balls.
see them over here. They started off as X's, right? And they weren't mixed up. They're just kind of like overlapping. But then you can see the next step is they mixed each other up. Now this is the metaphase where they line itself up, and they got split up like that. But you can see that they're like multicolored.
It like shifted around.
I want a baby type.
Some apart, like when we shifted.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mixed matched the pieces. I didn't mix them together like taking a blue and the red and I made a purple one.
Yeah.
But I kind of took the blue and the red and I made like a blue and red mix match.
What is a mixture but it's not a solution?
Yeah. And then the telophase, which is basically cutting it in half. And then you got the prophase 2, which is exactly metaphase or mitosis, just happening on these haploid cells. All right. Are we cool with that?
Yeah.
I think that's. I'll be honest with you. When I read the textbook,
Was it more confusing?
it was really confusing. When I read this textbook, and that's going to happen to me. I feel like that happens again when we cover Chapter 5, Lesson 3 in DNA. So I'm doing my best to explain this to you. But I think that
Kid-friendly way.
I think in this conversation I got across the main points. Like they didn't explain that crisscross thing that's happening
Yeah, like
in
why
the
is it
textbook at
happening?
all.
Oh.
And I was like, then what's going on? What's the point? If you're only going through mitosis twice, then what's the point? You know what I mean? But what's happening is you're trying to change it up. You're trying to vary these things. You take a little bit of genes or of chromosomes from the father and a little bit of chromosomes from the mother, and you try to mix it up because you can't clone them. I think that I remember watching this movie Interstellar, where I thought that was a really good movie. But one of the things that Anne Hathaway said is she said the importance here, because what they wanted to do is they want to repopulate, they want to regrow the human population. The first choice was to basically move the human population, but if they couldn't do it, Plan B was to like grow the human population with eggs and sperm. But they said the whole point that we're trying to do is genetic variation, because without genetic variation, you would basically have clones. Now, cloning isn't necessarily bad for some species, but for most species, cloning is not the way to go. They need this. We want this sexual reproduction which produces genetic variation, so that way we can have differences. So if a disease comes around and wipes us all out, or something like that, then we have to start all over. Then we don't have to start all over. Everyone's dead.
Oh yeah.
There is no starting over,
Hey,
right? But if a disease comes along, then everyone who is susceptible to disease would get killed. But there are certain people who aren't susceptible to that disease would not get killed. And then those people who aren't susceptible to that disease and not get killed would reproduce. And then the next generation would have a better chance of surviving that same disease that killed their parents. Or not their parents, but at least the friends of their parents. Because obviously their parents weren't killed because they survived long enough to reproduce.
you know what
Yes,
just came to mind?
I see what you said, Julian. Okay, I'm pretty much done.
So, like, after talking about all of this, like how it made the 4 different cells, right?
LOL.
Yeah.
I just started thinking, what came first, chicken or the egg? The egg should have came first, because
It's a
if,
big
like,
question.
if like
That is definitely a question I cannot answer. I don't know, because I don't
no,
know.
I would think the egg came first because like
for breakfast.
no, I Yamamoshi. So like two
Yeah, chicken for lunch and dinner.
two birds like reproduced, but like the egg could have been like how the human did it, and like the 4 different cells, and then next thing you know, the chicken came out.
Yeah, but
So like,
what if there was like 2 different things that made?
yeah, 2 different things made the chicken eggs.
I think
The
that
egg
might be
came
even a
first,
conversation that we have when we talk about like fossils.
Okay, it just came to mind.
No, we're going to get into some pretty heavy stuff in this class. So like we talked about sexual reproduction. I don't think that's right. We talked about sexual.
I know how to fix that.
No, that's just the phone. It's a phone.
Oh,
We talked about sexual reproduction today, and I think that's pretty much we're going to get into other kinds of reproduction, like asexual reproduction and that kind of stuff, in the next class. We're also going to be covering genetics, and we're also going to be covering Darwin. We're going to be covering evolution
Darwin?
and that kind of stuff.
Charlie Darwin.
Charlie. I call him Chuck. He's my friend. Chuck D.
That is an awesome show.
Chucky D. What?
Chuck.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
There's a show called Chuck.
Yeah,
Right.
it's all this dude. Like he watches something, and like he now has the knowledge of pretty much
Um,
everything.
Wait, who did I hear? Whose question? Did I hear Isabella's question? Isabella said, "What are identical twins? When they egg split in half, basically like a starfish."
Well,
yeah,
no, 'cause
I think that identical twins is when you have the egg split in half,
Yeah.
and that is closer to the two things having the same exact chromosomes. But that doesn't happen very often.
one-
You can have fraternal twins, which is
where
different
the-
from identical
Yeah.
twins, right? We're though there is one thing that I didn't. You know how I told you I finished all of quarter 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's one chapter that I didn't cover, that I didn't upload yet, which is chapter 7, which talks about human biology. So I haven't gotten into that yet,
Hey, what
but
do you-
I will. Yeah, we're done. We're pretty much done.
I have another-
I'm just wrapping things
Joe.
up and answering questions.
Can you,
Yeah,
Help me download this. Do I just click on it? Just click
I think
on
you just click on it. Yeah.
Oh, I have another joke.
All right. Yeah.
What do you do? No, shut up. What do you do when your chemistry teacher gets super sick?
What?
Well, if you can't heal him, you might as well just bury him. That's a neat stopper.
That's a good one. All right.
Remove yourself.
All right. So you guys have any questions as far as assignments go? You guys saw that like the first assignment's really easy. The next assignment's not
We
easy.
didn't talk about anything. English. We
Actually,
didn't talk about much.
the homework. So again, for me to repeat myself, the homework this week doesn't have to do with what we covered today. The homework this week has to do with mitosis.
So
We covered that last quarter. I'm just saying, remember this. The homework next week will have to do all with the stuff we covered today. So my goal always is going to be to
Yo.
Doorknob.
Hey, which one y'all boarded? Doorknob. Gotta do what you do because I can saw her parts. I'm gonna die.
all right. Meiosis. My goal is to always
Oh my god.
lecture. I don't hear it smell. Well,
I don't smell anything.
all right,
What do you guys smell?
all right. Meiosis are my goal is to always try to make sure that we
I use your fingers.
that I'm lecturing at least a week ahead of what you guys need to turn in. So I'm lecturing the stuff today. You won't have homework on
About
this
it today,
topic
but next
until
week.
next week.
Oh, that's really cool.
So I don't want to. I hate when my teacher lectures it and then it's due like the next day, because it's like I just learned it.
So are you gonna still, but we're gonna be able to look at the archive, right?
Yes, and you'll always be able to look at the archive.
That's a cool.
So I'm always going to try to make sure that I'm talking about something a week before you have homework that's due on it. But that doesn't mean you should only do the homework then. You should do the homework now. You should do this week's homework and next week's
That's
homework.
what my mom
Now.
does. We can do our homework.
Got it?
Oh, then your mom can do it.
No, I hated this. It was well, I didn't hate it, but I mean, it was
We
weird.
didn't even talk that much about unicorn.
But it wasn't even like talking about. We're just
We're
talking
just
about
talking
the
about the
cells.
Yeah,
Why
Yeah.
y'all guys tripping?
yeah.
Chill.
But I think that like it is definitely a topic I need to cover with my son. And I'm realizing that if I'm covering this now in 7th grade, then if my son's going to be in 7th grade, I better cover this. There's certain basics I need to cover with my son
Is this
first.
still recording?
Yeah, we're still recording.
Yeah.
No, I feel like it's something I should do.
Yeah.
It's like a dad's responsibility.
Family Guy helped me out.